Good evening. I'd like to call the special board meeting for the Village of Cary for February 11th, 2025 to order with roll call, please.
Walworth.
Here.
Collier.
Here.
Dudek.
Here.
Stefani.
Here.
Kounick.
Here.
Weinhammer.
At the ballot. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now moving to the open forum where the public is invited to make an issue-oriented comment on any matter of public concern not otherwise on the agenda. If nobody signed in, if there's anything that anybody would like to talk about that's not related to the CIP, you're welcome to come up and state your name and address and whatever you would like to say. But otherwise, we're going to go through the presentation, and then we'll have public comment about the presentation afterwards. So buckle down. It'll be just a little bit. So happy that you're here. It's nice to have people at the budget workshop. One thing I do want to say before we get going, I had an opportunity today with our Community Development Director, Brian Simmons. We met with the developer over at 2nd Street and 14. We toured the facility, the new buildings, and they're quite nice. He's got one sold, one with a hold on it, and a couple other people that potentially could be interested. So he's getting a lot of positive feedback in it. So they look really nice. So that was nice to be invited to check that out. All right, we have one thing on our agenda is a discussion regarding the fiscal year 2026, fiscal year 2030 capital improvement plan.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us for our first budget workshop that'll be focusing on our capital improvement program. Today's presenters that'll be joining me will be Brian Simmons, our Director of Community Development, our Chief of Police, Pat Finland, Director of Public Works and Engineering, Kayla Noonan, our Superintendent of Operations and Maintenance, Steve Kopaz, and our Superintendent of Utilities, Matt Anderson. So it's a little bit of an outline and agenda for this evening. We'll be going over the overall budget schedule, our meeting objectives for the CIP, which is the Capital Improvement Program, some of the summaries of accomplishments for our fiscal year 24-25, which is our current fiscal year. And you can see here in the second column, there's an outline of the different topics of the Capital Improvement Program. So these will all be reviewed and detailed shortly with all the slides tonight. And at the end, we'll have a total summary of the potential 5-year CIP costs, and then a review of our existing revenue sources. So as I mentioned with the schedule, the first budget workshop this evening is the Capital Improvement Program focus.
Let the record reflect that Trustee McAlpine has joined us at 6:04.
So our first budget workshop this evening is the CIP. The second workshop following this one will be Saturday, March 15th, at which time we'll review the proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget, along with a focus of the overall general fund. And then after that, the final budget consideration will be before the village board at the April 1st, 2025 meeting. So some of the objectives of our CIP. So the intent of the CIP is to identify potential projects for consideration in our upcoming budget. So it's very normal for this list to include projects that, more projects than a community such as Cary would actually implement or afford, but it's just best practice to outline all the different options that are out there so that when the village board is reviewing our potential budget, that they're aware of all the different options, both in the coming year and multiple years looking forward. So our main objectives are to identify, like I mentioned, and prioritize those major projects. We want to ensure transparency of our multi-year capital plan so that each budget year there aren't any or minimal amount of new ideas and surprises coming up, so that most of these projects you, the board, and you, the public, have seen ahead of time as much as possible. The other objective is to receive feedback, which is why we have 2 separate workshops for review and public comment about the projects and proposals, as well as the final meeting for the budget approval. And then lastly, the document itself then becomes a guide for staff to aid in implementing the budget itself. And as a reminder for today's meeting, it is for discussion only, so no final decisions are made at this time. These are all precursor to the actual budget preparation and the ultimate approval of the budget, which would be the April 1st meeting for consideration. And as in past presentations of the CIP, we're just reminding everyone that the other goal in preparing this plan is to align it with our strategic priorities. So these 7 priorities here were first established and then added to and amended from the original 2014 strategic plan. And then, as I mentioned, over the last 10 years, we've done many updates and added to them, most recently including environmental sustainability in the last CIP to the priority list. Now we're going to go through some of our FY 24-25 accomplishments. I'm going to turn it over first to Director Simmons for Community Development.
Yeah, this slide just summarizes a few of the accomplishments for the past year within the Community Development Department. As the board's aware, we continued with the implementation of the Central Cary TIF District this past year as the first year actually of the TIF. So we began operations and budgeting for future projects that the TIF may be able to participate in or accomplish with public infrastructure improvements within the planned area. With that new TIF district, we were able to come to an agreement with the Cary School District 26 for an IGA for the transfer of the Maplewood property to the Village of Cary. And then through that acquisition, have begun a RFP process to select a developer to potentially redevelop that site. So we're continuing through that effort as we speak today, but it was an accomplishment nonetheless for the past year. We also implemented a new economic development website, choosecary.com, where individuals can find information that are looking for a new business location. Can go to that website to find information on the community, or also new residents that are looking for information on Cary. There's a one-stop shop, if you will, for finding information regarding the community for potentially relocating to our community. Within that, there also is a restaurant map that we created to provide additional information for individuals, restaurants that are in the community as far as what offerings they provide and then where they're located at, so individuals can order from those establishments and potentially have food delivered to downtown if they're in our Spring Street area in our Fresco Valley. On the building permit side, we are continuing to enhance our utilization of our new permitting software that we implemented a few years ago. We've refined some of our processes within the department utilizing the nature of that software system. So continuing to refine how we're able to receive and process building permits. For this past year, we issued over 1,100 building permits and about 2,500 inspections. So that software system has helped significantly with that. Also, this past year, we did do some significant upgrades or updates to our building permit fees that hadn't been reviewed for a while. We adopted new fees in the summer months, and also adopted new building codes to refresh for current building trends that we're seeing in the area and international building codes. So that highlights a few of the updates or accomplishments that the Community Development Department saw this past year. And just a brief slide, again, to summarize where the business climate is in town. This is a slide that we typically show during the mayor's presentation on an annual basis, but occupancy in the community remains strong with our commercial sectors, industrial, retail, and office. Total occupancy is less than or total vacancy, I should say, is roughly around 2% of those spaces in the community, which is significantly less than it was about 10 years ago. When I actually started working in the village, you've seen a steady decline. We do have a blip, where things have gone up, but still we're at that 2% where a property does become available in town. It is quickly absorbed, usually for another user.
Some of the accomplishments for the police department for this fiscal year included the upgrade of the outdoor siren notification system to Motorola Optiwarn system. It uses the same communications platform that we use for our portable and mobile radios. and it's secure. Just to remind you that out in Harvard, they had someone that was able to activate their sirens without just transmitting a tone over their radio frequency, and now this will prevent that from occurring, and they can be activated independently. We've implemented our body-worn camera program. We had to statutorily January 1st, 2025, and we met that deadline. We are part of the McHenry County Regional Training Facility, and the firearms range, the training range opened during this fiscal year. Last fiscal year, the training center opened as well. Our police commission was very busy in terms of establishing a sergeant's promotional register and the eligibility register. And during this time period, for the calendar year, we hired 5 patrol officers, but during the fiscal year, we hired 4. So they're on the road. We have 1 police officer in field training right now. Otherwise, everyone else is on their own. Our records section, with the implementation of the body-worn cameras, we anticipated a need for an additional person in records. So we have 3 full-time personnel in there, with 1 of the individuals promoted to supervisory position. We currently use Lexipol as our system for our policies, and it's really risk management based, and we achieved the gold level recognition for our accomplishments in regards to that. We hired our 27th sworn department member, and 1 additional member was then assigned to our investigation section, which allows us to have 2 detectives and then 1 school resource officer that we have in that section. Our personnel have been involved in some mutual aid teams, specifically the Major Investigation Assistance Team, where 2 of our members, a deputy chief and a sergeant, are part of the officer-involved shooting in custody death investigation team, and the deputy chief, Chad Fetzer, is the assistant commander for that team. Additionally, we have a Sergeant Perry Mercury that is the commander for the McHenry County Major Crash Assistance Team. He just finished his traffic crash reconstruction, so statutorily he can investigate those traffic crashes from another agency if it involves a police officer that occurs with great bodily harm or a death that may occur in that traffic crash.
Then within the Public Works Department, another busy year. We've responded to over 1,600 Julie locates, responded to 14 winter events, with a few more coming in the next couple of days. Assessed 606 trees, removed 69 of those trees, planted 66, and trimmed 541. We use our annual brush collection, where we collected over 430 piles of brush. Outside of those statistics, we completed our inaugural Public Works of Art program with the surrounding schools, where we put murals on both the water and wastewater buildings throughout town. We're already planning on implementing a new program again this year, working with the schools. Just started that with their second semester of school here. So we also finalized a collective bargaining agreement with the employees that goes through fiscal year 2028, and we started the replacement of our lead service line program with 26 lines replaced this year, which is roughly about half, which we'll get into in a little bit more detail here shortly.
And from the Village Administrator's Office, which is the kind of catch-all department that includes administration, budget, finance, GIS, human resources, IT, and legal and risk management. First accomplishment was the completion of an organizational assessment, which is the first of 2 phases that I'll go over a bit more in a subsequent slide, but it did give us a framework for some staffing and org chart changes that we made. We updated the welcome video, which which we will show the public here in a moment as well. The Finance Department successfully completed the latest clean opinion for the audit and also maintained our very strong AA2 bond rating, which was reinforced and updated as part of the debt issuance for the Maplewood TIF assistance. Cary Main Street Fest, the event returned last year successfully, and the staff did perform the planning and implementation along with the Chamber of Commerce, and we're in full force with the next year planning for the 2025 event. A budget priority survey, which was utilized as part of the framework for this CIP presentation and analysis that was completed and released this year, is along with a map-based reporter concern system. So we replaced our online service request system with a new map-based version that is utilized to help Public Works and all operating departments respond to requests and concerns from the public. And then finally, we also implemented a new enterprise resource planning system. So similar to the Community Development Department from the permitting side, it's now under one umbrella software for utility billing, accounts payable, and payroll as well. As I mentioned, we have the new welcome video, which if you'll indulge me, we'll play this for you here. Sorry about that. All right, and next we're going to talk a little bit about workforce development, which is not normally part of our capital improvement presentation, but I included this because the personnel on our team here at the Village of Cary are the ones that do all the work planning and implementing all these capital improvement projects. So I wanted to give this a little bit of attention as it is an important part of how we implement this plan. I mentioned earlier the organizational assessment that was performed on the community development Public Works and Village Administrator's Office for the non-union staff. We'll look at police in a later phase. Two of those first phases of recommendations we actually have implemented due to some planned retirements and some unexpected employee movement. So the first recommendations included converting a permit coordinator position to a permit supervisor, and then changing a customer service specialist position who retired recently to a new permit assistant. That position actually is being advertised currently, and we're hoping to fill that in the coming months. The recommendation and the review of our operations showed that this study concluded that the economic development specialist should continue to be a part-time position based on our current needs and plan, and that the current part-time property maintenance inspector should also remain a part-time position for the time being. On the public works side, the recent retirement of our deputy director of public works facilitated a new change to add a superintendent of utilities position, which is now filled with the recent promotion of Matt Anderson. And also the recent departure of our assistant to the public works director, who took a job at another community. The recommendation was to turn that position to a more focused capital projects manager position. We anticipate filling that position in the next few weeks as well. And on the village administrator's office department, the recommendations were to consider converting the elected village clerk position, which has been actually vacant the last several elections due to lack of an interested person to run for the office, to an appointed position, but that would require a referendum for non-home rule communities. So that's something the board could consider at a future time. And then the other recommendations related to human resources and communications, and it suggested that it would be prudent for the village to consider in the future making a separate position to focus on all the wide variety of HR needs that the village has, instead of having that relied upon as a partial part-time duty within existing positions, which primarily is handled by our assistant village administrator. And then this is the organizational chart that is the result of our current org chart. That is the result of the recent changes to our personnel from that study. And then lastly, just based on the culture of professional development that we have here, I just wanted to just share with the public that we are very proud of our team and their expertise. And these are just a list of the different certifications and licenses that we have village-wide, ranging from police training to building certifications to planning certifications and engineering licenses. We have a very talented crew, which is very important for a lean staff to implement a very complex capital improvement program like we have tonight. Now I'm going to turn it over to Director Simmons to talk a bit about community image and engagement.
Thank you. As we've done per previous CIPs, planning processes to kind of determine what type of recommendations should be made as far as community input. We've performed a survey back in 2020. Was the last time it was performed, just before the start of the COVID pandemic. Had 142 responses at that time period, and as far as the focus of items that the public wanted to see at that time, the main two areas that they wanted to see were essentially roads and infrastructure, looking for the community to spend dollars towards those types of improvements. As part of this process, to help the board with making additional decisions within the CIP, the village again performed an analysis this year, had a survey that was available to the public for review. Had more respondents than the last survey that was received back in 2020. About 180 individuals responded to the survey this time, and the results you can see on the slide here. Specifically for the main topic that the village wanted to see planned for, the highest categories that had responses for three most important items, again, were infrastructure, looking at drinking water, roads, bicycle, pedestrian facilities were infrastructure projects that were highlighted, as is additional economic development was also highlighted as an important aspect that the community wants to see. Specifically focusing on downtown Cary, there was a response for additional public gathering spaces, which the village has planned. As you'll see within the CIP presentation this evening, there is public gathering spaces planned for in the upcoming years within the CIP. but also there's a desire for more special events. So looking at the farmers market, the cruise nights, Main Street Fest, things that we have been doing downtown, looking for potential ways that you can possibly encourage additional activity within the downtown area as well. And then separate focus questions, we're looking at Rotary Park as well. It's obvious to see where the majority of the responses came. We're looking for paved trails at that facility. So that's the highlight from that specific property, but there are additional requests for other amenities out there that would improve the enjoyment of that property, looking for potentially additional bathrooms, restroom facilities, or amenities that people could utilize as they're visiting that site.
Excuse me, are we waiting to comment or ask questions? I'm not seeing it in the slides, but can I see numbers at a later time that's associated with this bar chart? Bar charts are kind of misleading sometimes, so I just want to actually see. So for drinking water, is that 2 people? Is that 10 people? Is it 100 people? What is that?
Yeah, we can provide that information as
All
well.
right, thank you.
And kind of leading into the comments we saw in the survey for more public events, one of the other initiatives that the staff has been asked to look at is the potential creation of an Arts and Events Commission in order to help facilitate the planning of current and new events, as well as facilitate maybe the selection of our longer-term public art desires as well. So this is something that the village staff will be bringing before for discussion to the board at a future meeting. But it is something I just wanted everyone to be aware of that is in the radar. And we mentioned earlier, the return of Cary Main Street Fest last year was a resounding success, and we are still planning for the next iteration of it this coming fall. Now we're going to be moving from a 2-day event to a 3-day event. So it'll be Friday, I believe it's September 19th, Saturday the 20th, and Sunday the 21st. We're still proposing to partner with the Cary Chamber of Commerce, and that is a 50-50 split of expenses up front with an investment from the village of $25,000 per year. And with the feedback for the desire for additional events, we're also looking for some direction and feedback on whether or not there is a desire for more partnerships and more events. And our 2 primary locations where there's the most opportunity, of course, are Cary Lake and downtown. With Cary Lake, you could see some example opportunities are maybe some lakeside movie nights. There's some different options now for outdoor movie viewing, whether it's a screen that's installed actually in the water and viewed from the shore, or you can even have some, instead of a drive-in theater, you can look at a concept of a paddle-up theater, perhaps with our vendor that we have for kayak rentals. There's also many opportunities for live music and food trucks that we haven't had too much of yet at the Cary Lake, especially with the new pavilion that's in place, and perhaps hosting other festivals. Especially in the downtown, we have plenty of activity in the summertime with cruise night and the farmers market, but there could be opportunity for more events, especially in the springtime, perhaps tied to other events that are drawing crowds to the community, like the March Madness Half Marathon that happens in a few weeks, actually. So any comments, I guess, from the board with regards to the idea of more special events and location? That helps.
Particularly at Cary Lake. I think the idea of the movies is a neat one. I think Cary Lake, I've said it before, I think it would be ideal for some sort of fireworks show somewhere down the road. It could certainly accommodate an awful lot of people sitting at the banks. Parking would be an issue, but then again, parking would be an issue if we had something downtown too, and you drew that many people. But short answer, yes, more.
I'll piggyback on that. I agree as well. And we could do some partnership even with the Park District on some of those type of things. I'd like to see some of us partner up on different things that we can bring out. I think that people are looking for things for their families to do, whether it's young children, plus other people that just want other events. We do have some events that go on at Lions Park through the Park District, but I think we can utilize, we have a gem here with Cary Lake. That's a gem that we'd really like to get people to know what's there and how can we bring some things to the public. I think that there is a huge desire to do that, but I like the public-private partnership idea of some of these things. So, But I think with some of the changes we're making downtown, we're also going to have some additional opportunities to focus on some more events down there, whether they're arts events, whether they're entertainment events, whether it's a combination.
Right, and we've talked to many different people now with the addition of the new Gleneckie Family Plaza, Community Family Plazas, which is going to be starting construction this year. We will have a pavilion there, so my goal is to get the youth of the community involved in the downtown and be part of it, get them out of their parents' basements with bands in their garages, and put on little shows for neighborhoods and get people involved to come out, and we'll have seating there. There'll be permanent seating there, but bring some chairs and just go sit and encourage the kids to get involved. And that parlays into what we've been doing with the school district with the art that we have on some of our facilities. We have business owners downtown that have given us a thumbs up to put them on their buildings. So this is really something that we've discussed with District 26 as well as 155 for music and art, and they're thrilled to be able to be part of this. So I think this is going to be a very exciting time for us this next year when this all gets completed downtown. It'll create a whole new, really a charming, small-town vibe down there. So we're excited about that. And I think that with the implementation of a community or the Arts and Entertainment Committee, that will really help us step it up a little bit. So well done.
As it relates to paving piece, I keep forgetting this. The paving piece that's been mentioned many, many times, I just wonder, is there an opportunity, if we look at paving, which I'm guessing we will, probably sooner rather than later, to have some sort of an area where around the pavilion you might have the opportunity for people to buy bricks, with their names on it as part of a memorial, and maybe help the integration of asphalt into that to make it look a little bit nicer. I mean, you see that in a lot of places, but and you'll see it in a couple weeks when you go to Disney World, right, when you first walk in. I just think it's something that's a little unique, and I know certainly many people would buy a brick to memorialize that.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of activity down there too. People have requested permits to do family events down there at utilizing the new pavilion there. So it's going to be quite a showplace. It's going to, as Trustee Dudek would said, it's going to be a gem in our community. So we're looking forward to, creating some really fun things down there too.
All right, thank you. Speaking of art.
As part of the Public Works of Art program, we've had some art installed at Well 13, created by the Cary Junior High Art Club. Big thank you to them. In the upcoming fiscal year, there's funds for begin wrapping some of the utility cabinets throughout the village with some art.
These are banner concept designs that were submitted to us through Corbin as part of our entryway wayfinding signage and banner program. We've budgeted to purchase these next year to replace our old worn out ones that we put on downtown and on Route 14.
So we're hoping everybody enjoys the new fresh look. It's a little bit of a unique take compared to what most communities have on their banners, and I think it'll complement what we have downtown very well.
Is that 5,000 for all the lights in downtown? All the poles?
Just the poles, just the signage.
Signage on the street?
Poles are there already, right?
And
Yes.
And the brackets.
And we would just be rotating them based on the season.
Correct.
Right.
How old are the other ones?
Old. I would say they're over about 10 years old.
Yeah,
They're
it's
starting to rip, and it's showing signs of age.
Eric, can I go back real quick to the wrap? One, yeah. A question, and Mayor, you probably remember this from a number of years ago. I brought this up at one point in time about the potential of making one of our water towers look like a golf ball, because we have so many golf courses in town. I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but my guess is per capita we may have more golf courses than any other town in McHenry County. Probably be something good for us to take a look to see if that's the case. And, you know, I know we go through ever so often the repainting of those towers, and they're very, very expensive. Do you guys know, can a water tower be wrapped? Is that something you've either seen other communities do, or something maybe we could at least look at and see if it's feasible?
Wrap, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think.
No?
that hold up.
Because of the condensation.
Yeah,
that
they
are on
gotta
there.
get coated.
Okay, because of the temperature change and the condensation that builds up? Okay.
It's a special approved paint that has to be on there.
Got it. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. I didn't know that. So much for that idea. I'll come up with another one.
Hey, if you don't throw it out there, you know, we need to know what people are thinking.
I still think it'd be interesting to find out if we do have more golf courses.
Only one of them is within the village, Cary.
Yeah.
People think a lot of
If
things.
it says
are in
Cary
but
in
they're
their
not in Cary.
address, they live in Cary, so.
We received a lot of compliments over our new holiday decorations this past year. We would like to continue that momentum and looking to purchasing more for future years, so that way we'd have a variety that we could rotate in and out, so we're not always putting up the same thing every year.
Any feedback on the downtown decorations? Does the board feel like our progress and momentum is going as desired? Would you like us to?
I think it's great.
I heard
That's a lot.
positive.
I've heard nothing but
huge
positive stuff. People are
yeah.
like, wow, they're impressed. And it wasn't that expensive to do. Thanks, Steve.
It's a great job.
What's the life of those decorations, roughly?
It's hard to say. They're pretty thick, they are heavy, so, you know, if it's just the weather, I would hope we could get at least 10 years out of them, but being downtown, that's why we have lower amounts in the out years, is to plan for if we have to replace stuff.
And we talked about early on in the planning stage, you're gonna rotate some of the stuff out, some of the new stuff will be
Yes.
in different themes, that kind of thing, just so everybody knows that. It's not all gonna be the same.
So this 20,000 is not just for Christmas, it could be for other things.
Well, this is for the holiday decorations.
I will say.
Halloween, Easter, what do you?
Hey, this is open discussion. If you'd like to see some other types of decorations for other things.
I'll say that the decorations that we did, we had the snowmen, the candy canes, the ornaments. These are commercial grade decorations, so that 20 grand fades out very quickly
Yeah,
with
I'm with
how
you.
expensive that these are.
Yeah, these are pretty reasonable scale and price, not cheap, but reasonable. Obviously, the sky's the limit. You could spend a lot more money than that. I wouldn't
Yeah.
throw a number out there if desired, but I think without overwhelming the look and the feel of our downtown, this is a good start, and we don't want it to get too gaudy, per se.
And we have to live within our means.
I do think Halloween has become just huge in the United States. And, yeah, it just takes you from Halloween right to Christmas. You forget about Thanksgiving anymore. But that's something that I think we should look at. If we have some place to hold it, you know, I don't know what kind of event to do. I don't have young kids anymore, so I don't know what they do nowadays. But Halloween would be something I'd like to see us explore a little bit more.
Sure. And then the plaza should be done by then. We could do something down there.
And, you know, we do, the Chamber of Commerce does do a big event for children. They do a big Halloween walk. And they don't do it downtown anymore because they feel like there's a lot of other activities that focus on downtown. So they do it through the plaza, through the Jewel Plaza. Everyone walks through there. But I think with Halloween and stuff, I do think that could be something you engage the business community with down there. And, you know, you could have people that go in and say, hey, I'm going to, you know, decorate different light poles, you know, I mean, come up with even a fun contest. Again, I would love to see us cooperate with some of the businesses down there and see if they'd be interested in partnering with us on something like that.
Yeah. And then we have the ability now to shut the street down whenever we'd like to with all the balusters and things that we have and the safety devices that make an event over there, you know, on a Saturday or something, a Halloween costume contest or something, just getting more people downtown. It would be
I'll take
inexpensive to do.
take the opportunity to throw this out for the first time, and it won't be the last time in any of these budget meetings you hear this, is I will remain focused on the scope of what we should, or what's our core competency. And coming from a household that decorates for every holiday, I would be more inclined to do the longest single holiday season one time and do it right, and then move on. Because, number one, to be fiscally responsible, I don't know that it's our business as a community to decorate the entire downtown for Valentine's Day and then St. Patrick's Day and then Easter and then all that. Let's stick to what we do. I would not be disappointed if we didn't do any, to be perfectly frank. I do like it. I enjoy it. I go down there and see it. But I feel like we need to make sure that we're focusing on the priorities that were just listed to us 5 or 6 slides earlier. So again, this is just discussion purposes, but I'm comfortable with these numbers, seeing what came in last year. To expand upon that, I would have to be thoroughly convinced that it's going to be a worthwhile investment.
I see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our community signage, we've been working, as Steve mentioned earlier, on our wayfinding signage. We're finalizing the last details of that. Over the next 5 years, we're hoping to implement some of these signs, including the subdivision signs and additional landscaping around our entryway signs. We propose the funds be allocated for the new subdivision signs and would anticipate 2 signs to be installed in the upcoming fiscal year, with 1 sign thereafter. The reason for the 2 signs in the first fiscal year is there's 2 signs that are in immediate need of replacement that we would look to replace with this upcoming budget year. And then as far as wayfinding signage, we would budget $100,000 for the first year of wayfinding sign and an additional $75,000 in the next fiscal year, with the remainder of $50,000 to finish off all signage for the wayfinding sign project.
I would really like to, the wayfinding signs, especially with the parking and things like that for the downtown, that to me should be our first priority.
I agree. Well, this has all been derived too from our strategic plan downtown, that we're missing that. You know, I'll say it again, I say it every time. We don't have a problem with parking downtown. We have a problem telling people where they can park downtown. We have ample parking. We just need to get people in the habit of going to the places, including the Metro lot after 11:30 every day, and it's free on the weekends. But I think this will create more of a informational thing, and I agree with Trustee McAlpine that the wayfinding signage is critical. I'd put that above replacing subdivision signs.
And I would add to that, just for definition's sake, wayfinding signs are not just here's where to drive for this parking. Include that in the conversation when we're talking about Main Street and Route 14, having more abundant, good signage that tells people that you can't go straight into Main Street from the right lane of westbound 14. Having the more signage I don't want to be overdone, but the more signage we can have at that intersection, my God, the better it can be. So moving that up to the mayor's comments, moving that up as a priority above subdivision signs, I would agree with wholeheartedly.
You all beat me to the punch here, but you can see on.
Again, these are just ideas that are the community has noted that we've been working on for years, and we have an opportunity to revisit them. And when it comes down to the actual budget crunch, we'll see what settles out. But it's great to keep these things in mind. There's a lot of good opportunities here. And as we see things change, we've learned a lot over the last 5 or 6 years about pivoting with our things. But, trying to, we like to listen to what the community is saying, the surveys that we put out, the plans that we put in place. These are some of the critical things that people are asking for. So we'll look at this.
Continue on the community signage here, you could see the map locating where these signs would be placed. To piggyback off of what you all were just mentioning, I believe the intent and the focus would be the highlighted area up in the top right, which focuses on the downtown and the parking, as well as signage within the village right-of-way. That's the easiest because of the ability to install signs within our right-of-way. The second phase would be signage within IDOT and McDOT right-of-way, or McHenry County DOT right-of-way, in order to have adequate time for permitting and coordination with them. Few projects that are within the CIP. This is a future unfunded project, US Route 14 illuminated street signs. It is shovel-ready, similar to the ones that were installed on West Main near High Road with the downtown project. Conceptual cost for this project's approximately $160,000, and as I mentioned, it is currently unfunded, but is shovel-ready.
Where exactly are you visualizing that sign to be, if we were to put it up?
I believe all of these signs are along 14, so Three Oaks, West Main, First,
Jandis.
Jandis.
And well, West Main, East Main Street too. Yeah, this is something we've been working on since 2009.
That cost is for all the signs or one?
That's the estimate for all of this.
Oh, for all of them, yeah. Again, these are all things that would they're nice to have, but it's not a need. But
And we also always look at opportunities for grants or things like that. I mean, that's something that I think that our staff needs to be commended on. What a great job they do with always going and finding out things that could possibly help offset costs to do these type of things that are unfunded. So
So this would not be any new poles, this is
just the the signs. They would mirror the ones that are currently in downtown at High Road and Main Street.
So to Trustee Walrat's comment about our favorite intersection, is there an opportunity at some point to maybe have this, I don't think we have this now, because we just have a pole there, but if we could have the state, I assume, is that the state?
14, yeah.
State put a horizontal bar with some overhead signs that have the arrows, you know how you see them in all communities? That seems like that would be an ideal place for the overhead arrows.
You would think. We proposed that to the state, and they turned us down. I think we were going to pay for it, and they said no, because it's the states, they won't give us the right. I was in Springfield last week and meeting with the legislators, and we were talking about some of our projects, and we all kind of honed in on downtown Cary, and all of us there, and they were very intrigued at the amount of interest through the region that was had on that. So hopefully, maybe we can get something that's a little bit more substantial. Kaylin, we do have some signs coming, some changes.
Yes, and that is in the presentation a little bit further. That's okay. What they are doing is part of the project, and then exactly what you mentioned.
Here we are
overhead signage.
ping-ponging. Hey, we got asked and answered, right?
It seemed obvious. It's
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
Anything else before?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Continuing, no, that's okay. Continuing on the community signage and streetlights, just summarizing this, all of the, thank you, the additional items that we just mentioned. Here's their outlined forecasted cost. One of the items that we didn't mention was the LED streetlight replacement. That would just be converting existing streetlights that are not LED to LED. And I believe we have approximately 120 lights remaining that need replacement into LED. So that currently is fiscal year 28-29.
And out of the 120, those are our lights, they're not ComEd lights.
Correct.
Correct. So this would not technically do the entire village. It's just ours that we're responsible for.
Correct.
Thank you.
Focusing on community and economic development items within the CIP, one item that we've heard from the board was looking at potentially doing some additional amendments or an update to the comprehensive plan. As the board's aware, back in 2015 was the last time we approved a comprehensive plan. The formal or main plan was 2015. We did do two sub-area plans that were both approved in 2021. for the Algonquin-Cary sub-area plan around Route 31. And then the downtown Cary strategic plan was also adopted in 2021. So within the next fiscal year, we're proposing a small item for potential amendment to look at the comprehensive plan, so not a full rewrite of the plan, but potentially looking at areas of the plan that may need additional review. Just for comparison, the two sub-area plans that were done for the Route 31 corridor in downtown, those both cost about $120,000. So the $50,000 budgeted here would be significantly less than a full document from that standpoint. But providing some funds in the CIP to potentially study that and can have additional discussion with the board as far as what the scope of that would be as we move forward throughout the fiscal year. And then another item that's also anticipated for the budget would be to host or perform a strategic priorities workshop with the board to focus on potential future goals of the community as far as things that the board would like to see the community work towards within our strategic objectives and also for planning purposes from that standpoint if there's certain things that the board would like to see continue to be focused on in the upcoming years.
And for reference, the last time the village did a workshop and a full refresh of a strategic plan was December of 2014. So that also has been quite some time. And the numbers shown here in the CIP aren't for a full-blown workshop, but more of a focused workshop, similar to one that I actually just participated in as part of our board of directors for Naturally McHenry County. And speaking of Naturally McHenry County, which is our destination marketing organization and visitors bureau for the region. So right now, the Village of Cary is a partner with, I'll say NMC, just to make it shorter here, so the presentation doesn't get longer. And NMC did give us our 2024 marketing report. So we're happy to show that for our $10,000 investment, we actually received the equivalent of about $63,000 of marketing, which included social media, website, influencer campaigns, which featured a few videos focused on our downtown, our farmers market, and some local restaurants, as well as other digital advertising. Our current partnership, as I mentioned, is level 1, or about $10,000. I'm looking to see if the board is interested in continuing that partnership. You can see here, this is what is entailed with that. It did feature the photography sessions, many of which were used in updating our welcome video and our website and our economic development website, as well as the other advertising initiatives that were in cooperation with the other county partners as well. There are options for other partnerships that go up between $20,000 and $30,000, but at this point, staff is recommending maintaining the current level 1 partnership. But there is one a la carte option that could be considered, and that is if the village board was interested in a community or Cary-specific mini guide. The city of McHenry just recently finished one with NMC, and theirs is a print edition as well as a digital edition. So it includes a lot of additional photography and the entire guide, unlike the guide that goes countywide. It would entail just Cary-specific entertainment, restaurant, and visitor-based attractions. So if that's something that the board's interested in, that is $15,000 on top of our $10,000 partnership. Or the option could be to go to a level 3 partnership, maybe for 1 year, and go back to level 1 in the subsequent year. The level 3 partnership includes the mini guide.
My question with that is, how does that compare with the Chamber of Commerce does a community guide? So I mean, I don't want to double dip and spend extra money if the Chamber of Commerce is already doing one.
Oh, certainly. The Chamber's guide is more of a list of the different options and companies and businesses, whereas this would be a more graphic-based, the kind of thing that you would hand to someone visiting you from out of town, or that we would bring to a meeting with a prospective developer or a business looking to move into town. It does support not just the visitors that come to the community, but also it supports what's really great about our community that would make someone want to live here. Because when new businesses are looking at setting up shop, the workforce aspect of it is important as well.
I think I'd like to see what one of them looks like and compare it.
Sure, I can send the board the link to the McHenry version of it, and we can talk about it further.
Hey, I'm sorry, Eric. Do you mind going back one? Thanks. Is this, does this include us, our town having advertisement in their mailings, like how they send out the Naturally McHenry County magazine?
Yes. So that guide that you're referencing, and that's kind of the full county-wide version. So the community guide would be similar to that, but just about Cary.
Okay, so how often do they mail those magazines out?
They do the book once a year.
Oh, it's only once a year? I feel like I get it
The
more
regional,
frequently.
the regional is once a year. They would do one specifically for Cary. I don't know if that, I would be, this is still kind of new to us. We took many years to decide to do this, and it's been very, I think it's money well spent. We've gotten a lot of recommendations from people, just the videos that they've put on social media, really highlighting what's going on in the community. They kind of went corner to corner and really included a lot of different interesting ideas where people are commenting about, I didn't know that Cary had that. So that's what we want. We want the people to come into the town. So I think that I would, if it was up to me, I'd recommend that we stay where we are for now and kind of just see how this goes into the next year and see, keeping our eye on the ball, making sure that we're getting our bang for our buck. But this has been something that we considered for a long time, and we finally pulled the trigger last year. And it's been good. I think if you look at the statistics that we have from this, it really shows that we're getting a lot more people coming into town, which is what we want.
And as Trustee McAlpine mentioned, the chamber does it already, but get them to step up their game a little bit and put some graphics in theirs maybe.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue with economic development projects, kind of the largest one that's in the CIP budget for potential impact in the community is the Maplewood Access Road. As the board is aware, we did start the phase 1 design that was paused temporarily as we were working through land ownership issues or design issues with the school district regarding the Maplewood site. Now that the property is transferred, the village owns the property, we're able to resume completion of the phase 1 portion of the project. So this year, we will be completing that with additional open houses for community feedback on the final design alternative for the roadway. And then also looking to begin phase 2 of that project, which would be the actual design of the roadway, construction drawings, and any potential property acquisition that would be necessary for that. That would align with potential redevelopment of the Maplewood property with the construction of that roadway potentially occurring in tandem over the next 3 fiscal years. This slide gives some additional information as far as other programs that are budgeted within the CIP for community development. We continue the facade grant program that we implemented this year with funding for the next several years, again, with budgeted numbers specifically coming from the TIF for up to 4 grants within the TIF, and also outside the TIF for up to 2.5 grants based on the maximum of 10 grand per project. This year we've been able to issue 3 grants for projects within the community thus far. Also, other projects to highlight, the budget also includes funding for economic development, which include retaining the economic development specialist and also attending trade shows and other efforts for attracting businesses to the community. And then the information described previously for the Maplewood Access Road and the potential for the community guide if desired.
Here are some suggestions as it relates to technology and included in the fiscal year 25-26 budget. The $42,000 a year for the GIS systems that are used primarily by Public Works. The installation, an addition of a camera that would show the individual presenting to the village board. updating our desktop, laptop computers that aren't able to run Windows 11. Microsoft stops supporting Windows 10 in October of 2025, and we anticipate that some of the desktops and laptops won't be able to run that operating system, and the IT consultant has produced a replacement system that would relocate some of the current computers that are in use and then purchase new computers for uses such as our record section that have to now redact body-worn camera video. The telephone system and service is set for next budget year and the year after that. The current telephone system that we have now was relocated from our old village hall, so it's difficult to find handsets and things of that nature, and it's due for a replacement. As you heard, we've implemented our body-worn camera and in-car video systems, and that comes with a additional cost of $40,000 a year for the next 4 years. And then it's a 5-year agreement that we're in with Motorola Solutions, and we have to renegotiate another agreement at the 5th year, which is fiscal year 29-30. Currently, we use older tasers. They're X26Ps. They're no longer available. We buy them refurbished, and the replacement's a Taser 10, but they've gone to a different type of pricing schedule where it's more of a license than it is to purchase the equipment, which is why we've been a little bit resistant in terms of procuring the Taser replacements, but that's $11,000 a year as we use them. Our current portable radios were acquired 2016. They're due for replacement, and that again would be a large purchase, $240,000. And again, with the new pricing schemes that are in some of these vendors, there's a $3,000 licensing cost from that point forward. And in the next fiscal year, 26-27, upgrade of our software for the cemetery management.
Focusing on a couple projects within the CIP for the downtown area, downtown improvements. This year, the village will be beginning work on the community plaza enhancements for where the old depot station was located. For the public's knowledge, the village did receive approximately $470,000 grant from the RTA through the CMAQ program, and also a private donation to assist with the redevelopment or the enhancement of that area. And beginning in this year, summer, we will be reconstructing that area with a new plaza, pavilion area, outdoor fireplace and seating wall, so another area that residents will be able to congregate in the downtown for enjoyment of the downtown environment. And this slide just provides a different perspective of the proposed improvements. Again, trying to enhance the physical presence of downtown and continue the streetscape work that was completed this last year to provide another gathering space that'll bleed into future projects as well.
Then the third phase of the whole downtown enhancements includes al fresco alley enhancements. We would anticipate in budget for design of the al fresco alley improvements in the upcoming fiscal year, with anticipated construction to be fiscal year 26 and 27. Total budgeted amount includes $87,500 for design engineering and approximately $770,000 for construction.
Can I ask a question? Those swing gates, is there anything that would stop a vehicle from driving down through there?
That would not, and I'm glad you mentioned that. So this was an initial concept rendering. We haven't done any sort of design, so once we do the design, we would anything you see here, like the container box that's there, obviously that's been considered elsewhere within the village. So once we start design, we'll get into more of those details, but something like those swing gates would not.
Okay, so when you guys are looking for budgeting this, is there, I don't know any of the design information for this, but is there something that you guys would make sure that there would be implemented so that a vehicle couldn't go drive down there?
We recently, in this current fiscal year, we purchased a vehicular intrusion barrier. I forget what their official name is, but we would be able to place something like that in front
That's
of
great, okay,
Spring Street. Yes.
thank you.
And also, just like the previous phase with the downtown plaza, the alfresco alley enhancements also include a grant that we have received. So as Director Noonan mentioned, we haven't gone through the design phase to determine exactly what the amenities will be. That'll come soon. But this price point that we're proposing here is based on the amount of the grant that we're expected to receive.
Summarize the downtown improvements. The items highlighted in pink are two items that we didn't have slides on. That's the electrical vehicle charging station, $60,000 in fiscal year 28 and 29. And then, like we just mentioned, proposing additional modular anti-vehicle intrusion barriers. That's their official name, $105,000 for those. And the purpose of that is so that we could close off both areas of a thoroughfare.
Does that 105 include the trailer that comes
Does
with it?
not. We would, talking with Superintendent Kopath, that we would just move a set, and while our team was setting them up, we'd take the trailer back.
Go back, okay.
And grab the additional.
Appreciate that, thank you.
And then how many electric vehicle charging stations, is that for the 60,000? About?
That conceptual estimate was to include 2 stations, which would cover 4 parking spaces in the 6-hour lot. You might recall the Public Works Department in-house was able to place conduit prior to the resurfacing of the lot so that we can get electricity to that location without having to upset the recent pavement work there.
Okay.
And
Thank
part of, oh, go ahead. Part of this too, we have an opportunity through Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus was put in charge of awarding grants for EV charging stations, but that's on hold right now. But this is a perfect example of something the village could apply for to offset that cost. This is exactly what we're trying to promote. So we'll it's a wait and see right now.
Next, we have our anticipated roadway improvement and capital maintenance projects. You can see the attached map of village roads and their color-coded pavement condition index, or PCI. You can see currently we have 39% of our roads are in poor or worse condition. In 2025, our overall PCI value is 62.03, which puts us in the fair condition, and we would shoot for, our goal is to be at 70 or higher, which puts us in the satisfactory level.
What was that number last year? How much did we drop?
Were we 70 last year?
No, we drop about a point or 2 a year.
Okay.
I
We're
want to say
continuing
about,
to drop.
I can't see the exact number there, but you can see the
Oh, thanks.
the dot for 2023. Is like Director Noonan mentioned, slightly higher, probably 2 or 3 points at most.
Well, and as we talked about, this is a very, very concerning, it's not a pretty light, bright slide. You know, it's not, I think it's pretty scary to look at it because we've seen what's happened to some of our neighboring communities that haven't been able to upkeep with this, and the amount of money is going to cost you to have to go further because you're not maintaining. To have to go all the way down and grind all the way down is much more expensive than trying to keep it up and above that 70% satisfactory.
I'd like to put a big giant circle around the fact that, and correct me if I'm wrong, the current motor fuel tax revenue only projected line
Yeah.
and the zero budget, no dollars, no road project at all line basically mirror each other. So I'm interpreting that as if we continue the status quo in terms of how we're funding our road program, we're not getting anywhere. We're losing ground significantly faster. So we have to come up with a different program, revenue source, whatever we're going to come up with it. We have to find a different way to fund our road improvements.
Absolutely.
Yes, we do.
So on this map, we've briefly gone over it, but you can see where we stand. And then the one item that was not noted in here is that green line, which in order to reach and maintain satisfactory of 70 PCI score, we would need approximately $4.5 million annually. As a reminder, we're utilizing about $720,000 that we receive for motor fuel tax. We try to utilize as much. Sometimes we go a little bit over that we have in the past, but that's about $3.7 million of additional funding that would be needed to reach that. Then, do you have something?
No, we lost our pictures. Go ahead.
So our 5-year road program, in order to get all of this information, we utilize a computer software program that tells us what roads to implement that would help us keep as high of a PCI score as possible. Through that program, you can see our outline of the next 5 years of areas we are looking to resurface. Obviously, next year we have First Street, but we also are looking at East James Way, portions of Decker Drive, Asbury Lane, and portions of Three Oaks Road.
I would point out, in a very concerning tone, it's hard to get, I mean, you got this picture and you got the prior one, looking at the prior aerial that showed, and even if we're only addressing absolutely the worst scenario, where we have failed roads, when we have failing roads, I don't see any of those addressed on this. And that is an absolute huge concern for me. I understand First Street, that's part of a program, there's some grant money, there's other things in play here as well. But what we're seeing here marked in 2025 and 2026, if my memory serves from one slide before that, we're not addressing any of our failed roads. Or, excuse me, thank you. There's a whole bunch of black on the top half there in the center that are not being addressed in that, and that is a huge problem for me. That we're again, it's only, if you add the two worst ones, it's only 7% of all the roads. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the way they're put together, there's certain neighborhoods in there that you're in a resident here in the middle section or up in the Foxford section, you're not getting to a main thoroughfare without going through a failed or a seriously degraded road. And that immediately leads to the questions of what the hell are we doing?
Does a serious road lead to a failed road 1 year later every time, or no?
It's not a linear
Okay.
degradation. It depends on what the issue is. And keep in mind, some of these roads or segments that are labeled failed, some of them can be, and maybe will be addressed temporarily with patching, whereas it's not so much the full structure of the road. So that's where it takes a little bit deeper dive into the numbers as opposed to a pure, maybe high-level look at the color of the road, and that's the condition.
Sure. And I appreciate that. What would make sense to me, if I'm sitting out in those seats instead of these seats up here, and I'm seeing, listening to what I'm just saying here, I would also want to see how are we then utilizing the dollars to patch these areas, and what does that do for us? It all goes together. So you're 100% correct. We're not going to replace all these roads. It's just we don't have money for it. But we need to figure out and be able to broadcast to the residents, where are we going to replace? That was 2 slides later. This is where we're going to replace. But where are we going to patch? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a dozen different failed roads. If I'm living on the back half of Foxford, or if I'm living down, honestly, Mayor, in your neighborhood, I really want to know what's being patched so that I can say, okay, maybe that takes us from, failed or serious back up to very poor for a couple years. And it gives me an opportunity to look at the 2027, 28, 29 for a complete redo. But this is absolutely highly concerning to me that we are not able to address our most basic need that everybody is saying should be our number one need.
Correct.
Hold on.
Hold on a minute. I would.
You'll have an opportunity to address when we're done with this, okay? Chris, can you just hold?
I would
comment?
agree 100%. I think this is the most concerning issue facing us, is we don't have a funding source. We don't have something that says we have a solution, whether it's temporary, but we need to be looking at long-term solution of what we're going to be doing with this.
Right. Well, one of the things too, you got to remember, roads change from year to year. And when we prioritize the different projects, it depends on the weather, like the sub-zero weather we're having right now, you know, snow, rain, freezing, cracking, it changes from year to year. Some of these roads, it's much more economical to replace a road that is not in total failure. In total failure, you have to rebuild a road, for the most part. So that costs substantial, so it's like you're nipping and tucking a little bit. You want to make sure that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck when we're spending this money. And I absolutely agree. We need to find a source to create more than the $750,000 we're able to spend right now.
And I would say we need to then, I guess what I'm really saying is I'm broadcasting the fact that we all discuss in our conversations outside of the boardroom here, what we know what the issues are. What I would like to see us have a concentrated communication pattern to what is being repaired.
Mm-hmm.
We all face the same thing in our house. Are we going to repair something or are we going to replace something? There's a cost to replace something, there's a cost to repair something. We need to broadcast the repair part and how we're doing that, as well as we're going to spend 6 hours together talking about these two things before we vote on anything. That's all going to be mostly on replacement and big dollar items. We need to broadcast just as well how we're doing the repair part,
Right.
so that we can satisfy the folks who have this right outside their front door that are unhappy.
Well said. I agree with what you said.
And you're going to love the next 4 slides.
On the motor fuel tax, you showed the slide, I think it was the previous one. Is that a stable source? Is the state talking about cutting any of that out
Do you
from us
want
right
to
now?
know the real opinion?
Yeah, that's the
Okay,
concern.
from Springfield, the motor fuel tax is going to stay the way it is, but the EV is taking away from the motor fuel tax. The EV vehicles do not pay to use our roads. That's where the roads are funded. EV charging does not. Any of the electric cars don't pay a motor fuel tax, so they're not paying to use our roadways. So that's something that
So
is
this number is
concerning.
worse.
It could go, but, you know, they're looking at other ways to help us bridge the gap between what we're losing in motor fuel tax due to the EV vehicles using our roads and not paying for them to try to make us. So the conversations are being had. You know, we talk about this all the time. The conversations are being had. We're looking at ways that we could offset some of the funding losses that we're experiencing. It's as plain and simple as that.
And to answer,
They do, but it's not going to be
It's
anywhere
not,
near.
that's, you know, that was
That's
one of.
going, I think, directly to
Pardon me?
the
Yeah.
state. It's not.
Yeah,
gonna
that
come
goes to
us.
the state, that doesn't come back to us. We've sat in meetings with the Senate president about how should we implement what's fair. You know, he drove an electric car. He said, I drive an electric car. I drive on all these roads and I don't pay a dime. I go, yeah, we're like, yeah, that's a problem. That's how our roads are being funded. So there are ways that we could look at, you know, for a while there, we didn't have enough money to put together a comprehensive road program because the cost of doing a project, you're not, you know, these road construction guys, they're no fools. You know, you're looking at economies of scale, which is why we do some of this municipal partnering that we do with some of the other municipalities to get more for our bucks. So we may take our $720,000 that we're putting towards roads and work with another smaller community or a larger community that's trying to put more of a robust program together. So those are things that we're looking at doing too, to drive down the cost of these roads, because it's absolutely critical. And this isn't going away. You know, I've been involved in this since 2009, and this has always been a thing. So, you know, we've got to find a way to really nip this in the bud.
Eric, I'm kind of more of a visual person, so when you talk about these PCIs, the failed, serious, very poor, I would like to see some pictures around, hey, this is a failed one compared to, hey, this is a really, we all know what a good one is, but.
certainly, we had those in some previous CIP slides.
That'd be awesome, thank you.
I was trying to keep it under 300 slides, so
No.
I deleted
I
that, so I
gotcha.
should have kept it in. But
I'll just tell you what roads to go through.
Yeah.
This is a fair.
I'll share that.
Well, I
with
guess I got the
everybody.
map, so I guess I can just go.
You could,
myself.
no, but it's, you know, that was one of the things that, you know, back in 2009, when I was a trustee trying to learn about all this, about the cost of doing major road construction. You know, it's so much cheaper to just mill off the top layer and throw on some more, you know, asphalt than it is to rebuild a whole road. So you got to put your money to where it's going to do the best. You know, you might have had a road that was done 20 years ago and you're gonna just do the top lift because it's cheaper to do rather than a road that's 30 years old and failing. Once it's really failed, correct me if I'm wrong, my public works friends, once it's failed, it's not gonna get much, much worse. It's just hard to drive on and it's unsightly, which we don't want, but still, it's not going to, you know, prohibit people from driving on it. So you gotta look at these things, you know, realistically.
Yeah.
So to that point, I think years ago, we also talked about possibility of some sort of a bond or loan or something to get a bigger dollar amount up front and then pay for it over time. So my question is are the MFT funds a set of dollars that we could earmark towards a loan over a period of time or a bond or something like that, Eric? So we could get X amount of dollars today, bring up the failed or poor roads quicker, and then just allocate the MFT funds over 3, 4, 5 years or what have you to pay that off?
Yeah, you might recall back in November of '23, a trustee, I'm not sure if it was you, Trustee Dudek, had asked us to look at that analysis, and it did actually show that while the bump in funds all at once helped, it still dropped considerably after that because of the amount we could bond was not enough to bring it high enough to where it was still sustainable with that MFT funding remaining where it was at.
Maybe to answer your question, we can have Kelly look into, our finance director, look into our MFT funds a reliable source of revenue for bonds.
And I'll share with the board the slides from the 2013 presentation, which showed those exact scenarios. And actually, for a frame of reference, to answer Trustee Collier's question, when we did that analysis back in November of 2023, our projected MFT revenue was $730,000 annually. So based on the current numbers that we receive from IML and from our finance consultant, the MFT projections are dropping, as the mayor mentioned. It went down $10,000 just in the last 2 years, or last year, sorry.
Just in 1 year.
Yeah, and in that model, that 10,000 that you were short, if you have revenue bonds, that all the revenue is going to pay for those bonds, and that revenue comes up $10,000 short, that's $10,000 right out of the general obligation. That's coming right out of how do we pay our bills, how do we pay our police officers, to me, that's, with MFT as the backer, absolutely not worth the risk for all the reasons the mayor just mentioned.
Thank you. Who's next?
The map in front of you is our sidewalk concerns that we get either from staff or from residents. There are over 4,000 of them up there, but the majority of them are on a low or watch list. The sidewalk replacement program is now part of our roadway program. We also have a sidewalk cutting program and in-house grinding for the smaller issues. Last year, we were able to replace a little over 4,700 square feet of sidewalk.
And like was just mentioned, the cost for roadway improvements continue to rise. You can see the unit costs for sidewalk replacement also continue to rise.
Again, this is a perfect opportunity how regionally we work with our fellow municipalities to do municipal partnering to, you know, get economies of scale to do more sidewalks than we could do on our own.
Perhaps a silly question, but do we have a overall cost as to what we need to be, and I know we've had it in the past and we've talked about this, what do we really need to be able to allocate towards our roads and our sidewalk in order to stay at that 70%?
Is it $4 million?
I
4.5.
4.5, okay, thank you. And that's for both the roads and the sidewalk?
That will be mainly for the roads and some of the sidewalk.
Okay. So 4.7 for, maybe both, I don't know?
Yep.
Okay. I just think that's a huge number that we need to, that's a huge nut to crack with
Here's
what
some
we have.
pictures for you, Trustee Stefani. See, patience, my friend.
So this is our asphalt patching program. The two pictures you see there, the first one I believe is Asbury, and the second one is Sherwood. Those are two of the locations that we plan on doing some asphalt patching this year. We've budgeted about $43,000 for that.
And those are probably, I have to double check, likely two of those sections of road that were probably showing up in the PCI map as very bad.
Sherwood, yeah, Sherwood is showing up in the black.
But it's just sections of it. That's why the average of the road can be deceiving sometimes when the whole stretch is colored black or red. But hopefully the patching will mitigate most of that.
This slide shows the breakdown in the road maintenance capital fund. For the road maintenance itself, we have street repairs, sidewalk cutting, asphalt patching, bike path maintenance, pavement markings, pavement rejuvenation, and sidewalk and curbing replacement. And also we have $20,000 for parkway tree replacement and $20,000 for parkway tree trimming.
And the parkway tree trimming is outsourced tree trimming to supplement what the Public Works Department does in-house.
Additionally, we have the Georgetown Drive and Three Oaks traffic signal modernization project. This project includes updating the traffic signals. And the purpose of this is because the contractor that does our traffic maintenance work for our overhead signals has informed us that we need to start converting this particular intersection to LED signals as the existing light fixtures and parts are becoming a lot harder and harder to find. We would also complete pedestrian access and ADA crosswalk improvements. Also, an item to note of this intersection, it's important with the upcoming residential development that's currently in process across from the municipal center and the new D26 transportation center. Motor fuel tax summary. These are the items that we just talked about. First Street currently in execution of contracts. We anticipate that to take place this year. Our road program design and then the traffic signal modernization project.
And then we just spoke about pavement markings. This is a stretch of roadway that I think the village board is familiar with. We recently implemented some parking restrictions and striping changes a few years ago to address some of the concerns with trucks that are loading, unloading, or stopping, waiting to check in with businesses on Industrial Drive. With it being in the 5-year CIP for resurfacing, this could be an opportunity to consider some modified striping to address some continued issues with regards to those trucks that are waiting to load and unload. This photo here, actually I was sitting there for about 5 minutes waiting for this to happen, so I snapped a picture. Not driving, by the way. But we do still see some trucks that are not stopping and parking in the correct side of the road and causing some traffic issues. Enforcement works to an extent, but the enforcement has to happen when we're around to see it happen and address it. So one option to consider is to modify the current condition, which is on the left in cross-section with parking on one side allowed only, to switching it to a center bidirectional turn lane in the middle and allow trucks to basically stop and put their hazard lights on and wait to get their tickets to load and unload. And that way they won't block certain directions of traffic as frequently as they currently do now with the current configuration. This is something that we're considering when we do that resurfacing in a few years, and this would require some board action, though, to modify the parking restrictions if we go forward with this recommendation.
Yeah, I get more and more complaints about people being obstructed by the truck traffic on there. We got to do something different.
Hey, Eric, on 51, slide 51, does that say 40,000 and 300,000? Oh, yep, go forward one.
This one?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry. 40,000.
so
for
is
design.
this planned or is this just something that's kind of out there?
This is one I would say will be a priority. So design really needs
It
to
will be a
happen.
priority?
Yes, because of the fact that what Director Noonan mentioned, where we can't
to
be able to
accommodate
continue
one or
getting
two
these bulbs.
pedestrians? I mean, I
No,
never see anyone walking in
No,
this
it's-
area
No,
at
it's the
all.
whole traffic light, it's the whole lighting system that's becoming obsolete. They can't get the parts to fix it, they can't replace that, so those all need to be changed. We've been aware of this for a while.
Yeah, it's not the pedestrian crossings
Okay.
that's driving it,
Pedestrian,
it's
no.
the traffic signals themselves need to be
The actual
replaced.
signal.
Got it. Okay.
And then one of the requirements, laws actually, when you improve and modify roadways or intersections, if you touch the roadway, you have to bring it fully to current ADA, Americans Disability Act requirements. So if we resurface that intersection or change the signals, we are required by law to then upgrade the curb ramps, ped signals, crosswalks, and stuff like that.
And
Thank you.
that's where the bus transportation's gonna be coming in and out, so we definitely have to get that done.
Sorry.
Another project that's been on the radar but currently unfunded includes the heaving repairs on Bristol Way. As you can see in the attached picture, the roadway around this area is separating and cracking from the curb line. Cost to replace just this portion of Bristol Way is $250,000.
And this is one that we've been monitoring for quite some time. It's been in the unfunded kind of watch mode, because it does happen seasonally. With the moisture and the temperatures, it will heave like it's shown here, but then in warmer, drier conditions, it will settle back down, which is great, except for the fact that that's the edge of the road that a heavy garbage truck will typically drive along, and then that eventually causes the pavement to fracture.
Is that, in that map, is that a failed roadway right now, marked as?
I don't believe so, 'cause it's just the edge that's the problem. The rest of the pavement is actually in really good shape.
Yeah, that wasn't done too long ago. Okay, yeah.
Earlier, the First Street project was mentioned. This is a federally funded project through the Surface Transportation Program. So we have about $960,000 for this project for construction. The bid was just recently awarded by the village board at the last meeting, and construction is going to start this season here. This includes resurfacing the roadway as well as some striping changes for the buffered bike lanes, which were highlighted by the Cary Grove High School AP Human Geography class at the last meeting as well.
Yeah, that was fascinating. Yeah, that was super cool that these kids did that. It was really fascinating. But to know we were ahead of the game, too, that's good.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
A project we've talked at length about in the past year or so is the Hilltop Subdivision sidewalks. We currently don't have any grants or funding mechanism outside of the capital fund to fund this project, and it's anticipated to cost approximately $480,000 to construct. If you remember, we did do a design with our engineering firm, staff and the engineers. We've done our best to, during the design, in order to work with the residents on those in favor and those opposed to strategically place the design. And what we came up with is what you see on the screen here, the orange area highlighting where those sidewalks would be placed. At this point, village staff would be requesting some direction on whether to move forward with this project in the upcoming budget year.
Did we apply for any grants for this project yet and said no to, or do we don't know?
We have not applied for any grants for this one, none that have come up that we
That
thought.
eligible
That we would,
for it?
that we would qualify for.
Yes.
Since we have some folks here from the subdivision, would you like to comment on what is being proposed here? I would. Sure, come on up and just state your name and address for the record.
Charlie Middleston.
Hold on. We record all this, so you got to speak in the microphone.
I'm not gonna swear. You know, you got it going around the center island of the, now how is that gonna be safe for kids? They're gonna have to run across the street everywhere to get to the sidewalk?
Which
Did
which
you-
which
I
lot
mean,
is your?
that's jaywalking, isn't it?
At the intersections, I would imagine. Which lot are you at?
I'm in 109.
109?
The one right on the corner there of Ross and Second.
You're in 109, okay.
So you're gonna get a lot of sidewalks.
Yeah, but then everybody else is what, everybody
Well, I think-
pays taxes. It should be one person gets it, everybody
Well,
gets it.
we're trying to, we've had robust conversations with your
I
neighbors
know, and it's been
about
going
this.
on, it's got the whole neighborhood torn apart.
I
Half
know,
of
and
the
it's
people don't even
unfor-
want sidewalks.
we
And you're gonna
understand.
spend all this money for half of the people?
Yeah.
What
Well,
about
we're
us
trying
half?
to, we're trying to
And all
appease the
kids- Now,
situation.
listen to me, all the kids live on the outside circle. So
For
how's
now.
that gonna, they're gonna be running across the street like squirrels. You see what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about? And that's jaywalking. You think they're gonna walk all the way down the street to cross at a, at the, where they're supposed to, at an intersection?
Mm-hmm.
With the, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah, but this is something that we're,
You're not, even the people that lost a child aren't even getting a sidewalk. Whoever designed this should get an award for stupidity.
well, they took into consideration all the public input, all your neighbors' input. We tried to come
Yeah,
up with a plan that would appease everybody.
Well, you're
There's
not
some
appeasing
challenge.
me.
Well, there's some challenge. Well, you're not, you wouldn't be as impacted as I look at it, because some neighbors would lose like all their parking. There are some neighbors that don't have any area to put a sidewalk.
So what are you gonna do? Go each house? Do you want a sidewalk? Do you want
No,
a
that's,
sidewalk?
no, sir,
That ain't
this is.
gonna work. That's ridiculous.
All right, well, this is why we
Everybody
asked,
pays taxes. If one person gets a sidewalk, everybody should get one.
I understand what you're saying. This is
I
why we're
don't know
having,
where the hell you guys think that is gonna be safe for kids.
thank you for your comments. We will take that into consideration. This is just we're just looking at opportunities
And
here.
like I say, everybody pays taxes, everybody deserves a sidewalk. If you're gonna give us sidewalks, then damn it, give us sidewalks, not around the middle where the kids are gonna be more danger. What if a handicapped person wants to, he's gotta go across the street. If there's cars parked there, the kids are gonna be running right out into the street. So maybe you have another fatality in the neighborhood. Just think about it.
Thank you for your
Guys,
comments, sir.
you gotta think about that.
Anything from the, oh,
Hi. John Robach, 120 Cherry Street. So whoever designed this designed it as a way to save money and also try to appease people. Couple things. Because we don't have a grant, does that factor into this with the sidewalk? Because the comment was before at a previous meeting was it had to be so wide because we were getting a grant, and because that grant we had to follow certain processes. Two, the subdivision has a new neighbor at 15 2nd Street, all for K9. They just put in new parking and a new sidewalk. That sidewalk is not 5 feet wide, I don't believe. I don't know how it could with the parking they put in there. So we are putting in skinnier sidewalks in the subdivision. With that new neighbor, there is increased traffic into the neighborhood. There's also increased traffic coming from 20 on your map there, which is the new vertical dispensary. People, because they can't turn left, turn into the subdivision, either throw a U-ey at Ross or they go all the way around the subdivision. I have cameras, I can show you footage. I know people drive into the neighborhood and drive right back out. I've followed people that go right to the dispensary. I'm in agreement that everybody should get a sidewalk. Whoever designed this is trying to appease the neighborhood, but the cheapest way possible.
Well, I don't think it's the cheapest way possible. We're trying to appease the neighborhood. You've got a split neighborhood, and it's a horrible situation. And, we're not the bad guys here. We're trying to work with the whole neighborhood, trying to listen to what everybody wants and come up with a solution that will be best for your neighborhood.
Just curious, all of the new construction where you're doing residential, you're requiring sidewalks, correct?
Correct.
True, but this was done way before that.
This was kind of grandfathered in. No one ever wanted sidewalks there before. In all the surveys that we've done in all the years leading up to this horrible tragedy,
Thanks for bringing that up.
no one wanted sidewalks.
Since the last time you've done your survey, at least 5 of those houses have sold to different people.
All right. If you want to address the board again, I'll welcome you up, but please don't shout from the back of the room. Pardon me?
Things should have sidewalks.
Hey, Ellen Branson over at 15 Ross. I just wanted to honestly thank you for putting something together. Just from the perspective of a parent, perspective of a parent who has a child with a disability, I think having something is better than nothing. And, is it going to solve everything? No. I also believe, yes, like.
Mrs. Branson, can you pause, please? I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I can't hear you. Can I just ask you guys to just please quiet down? Because I can't hear somebody at the microphone. Thank you. Please don't be rude to her.
Is this better?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. So all I want to say is thank you. And I know that it's not going to be everyone's, perfect solution, unfortunately, but it's something. And I just think back when I was teaching my kids how to ride a bike or letting them out and traverse, throughout the neighborhood. Having something where I know that they can be out of traffic is at least a little more, gives me a little more peace of mind, right? It really, really scares me to this day. Like, the kids are just playing out in the street, and this isn't going to solve everything, but it's something. So I'll take it. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to comment on this? Okay, anybody else from the board want to?
I think we would be well-served as a community to take a couple things into mind. Number one, in our decisions, we cannot let perfect be the enemy of good. Is this perfect? Absolutely not. Is this good? It's an improvement. And to the comment of sidewalks everywhere, absolutely, everybody'd love to have a sidewalk. By putting it in this format, we're not excluding a future year of doing the remaining areas. So it's our job to be fiscally responsible, and it would be very easy for us to say, you know what, we're just going to tax you all the maximum. We need $4.5 million to make our roads work. That's not feasible. Putting every inch of sidewalk in this neighborhood where 50% or so of them don't want it, that would be feasible. Not financially feasible right now, but it would be something we could do. In this option that's in front of us right now, it is good, but it's not perfect, and it's a start, and it's potentially not finished. The worst thing we can do as community leaders after a tragedy is to bury our head and say, boy, I hope that doesn't happen again. And I, for one, will not do that. And if the 50% of the folks up here disagree with me, that's fine. If they don't want to vote for me, that's fine. I'm going to do what I know is right. And in this scenario, I think this is right. Thank you, sir. You had your opportunity, and I would appreciate it if I can have my opportunity. Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Hey. Chief, could you escort him out of the building, please?
Get out of here, asshole.
Hey, trustee. No, this is not how we operate here. I won't tolerate this type of behavior, period. We're not the enemies here. We are trying to come up with a solution that is relevant, that is safe, that will protect your community. I understand that it is a very heated discussion in your neighborhood, and I'm sorry that that's going on. But we have to look at things from a larger perspective. How can we do this to at least make an attempt to make it safer for the residents that are in there? That's what we're trying to do. This is, like we said, there are absolutely no decisions being made right now. This is a plan that our engineers came up with to how we can best accommodate all the input that they listen to from you and all the comments that were made from you. This is what the engineers put together so that we can accommodate the safety of your neighborhood. That's our first and foremost obligation to this community. That being said, is there anybody else that would like to have a comment about this? Would you please come up to the microphone and state your name and address?
I also live at 109. That was my husband. I apologize.
Could you state your name for the record,
I'm sorry.
please?
I'm Judy Middlestead.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what they were saying before, 110, their property line goes to the curb. We were told originally that we couldn't go all the way around because of that. It looks now like that's going to be done, and I just wondered if that was changed since that time.
So initially with these parcel lines you can see in the green, it shows that this is all through McHenry County's GIS system, so they're not 100% accurate, and it shows it going to the roadway. We were able to do some more digging and realize that that didn't actually tee up to the roadway there, and
Gotcha.
there was enough.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. It was very, very, very pertinent. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to make a comment on this slide? Okay, let's move ahead. Thank you.
Another project in the radar, unfunded, but something of importance that we would like to keep some focus on is the intersection of US Route 14 at Three Oaks Road. So this is a project that Mayor Koenig has been able to have included in the McHenry County Council of Governments transportation priorities, which will hopefully lead to some additional attention at the state level to maybe lead to a partnership with IDOT to help improve that intersection. So as many of you probably are aware, there's capacity concerns at the intersection with the volume of traffic turning from 14 to Three Oaks Road and vice versa. Sometimes the queues for eastbound Three Oaks Road do back up almost as far, if not past the Georgetown Drive intersection. So the CIP identifies that conceptually this improvement would cost in the neighborhood of about $6 million. So it is obviously a state-maintained roadway, along with Three Oaks Road being locally maintained by the village. So it could be a potential candidate for future federal funding. So one of the things that we would like to identify and put in our CIP is the opportunity to do some more conceptual engineering to hopefully lay out more details of what the road may need to look like to help convince IDOT and maybe some other grant programs to support the project and improvement down the road.
Is there any way that they could tuck that under?
Grade separations are something that could be looked at, but the challenge here, just like almost all of the Union Pacific Railroad corridor that parallels Route 14, the railroad tracks are so close to the roadway that doesn't leave a lot of room to do things. So typically, it's more
intersection.
Yeah, it'd be cheaper to go under, but you don't have the distance.
We don't. They're doing this down in Route 14 in Barrington.
Don't you know anyone in Barrington?
Yes, I know the mayor real well, and it took a decade to even get it to where they're going to start the construction now. They've done it's going to start, but I've talked with our legislators about this. This is a priority for our regional legislators as well. They understand it because although people think that Route 14 and West Main is our most accidents in town, it's actually this intersection we have the most accidents. So it's a safety issue that we're lobbying for as well. So these are hopefully, when the state kind of gets their thing figured out, which we'll find out next week. Don't get me started. But, this is something that we're working on, and we've been able to work through McHenry County to highlight this intersection as well as the one in downtown Cary is a high priority.
Is the western portion of Three Oaks Road, is my memory serving correct that either the township or the county is involved in that portion west? I mean, basically from Stryker on, and is there any opportunity to work with them and maybe have a project larger in scope that, potentially goes all the way to the new hospital?
One aspect, yeah, for grants, is looking at this as a corridor. The city of Crystal Lake is currently, shown here on the slide, working on a new signal at Sands Road, at Three Oaks Road, and then they are actually going to also incorporate resurfacing and adding the bike path along the south side of the road all the way to the Cary Village limits. And you're correct, Trustee Walworth, it actually does kind of skip back and forth from city of Crystal Lake jurisdiction to unincorporated Algonquin Township, back to city, and then to Cary. But yeah, up to the Stryker kind of property line there, it is those two jurisdictions. So that work's actually going on. They had federal funding for that, and it begins this year. You probably see a lot of the utility work being finished up right now as we speak. But the other project that the Council of Governments has on the regional priorities list is the Route 31 and Three Oaks intersection, another intersection that's had a long history of traffic concerns dating back prior to my time here in Cary when I was in Crystal Lake. It was something we had brought to IDOT's attention back then. That intersection, along with this intersection, could be paired perhaps as a corridor for grant opportunities.
Yeah, and this is the reason we've been able to have such success with the legislators is because this is really deemed a failing intersection. It can't handle the amount of traffic that's going through it right now. When you think of the new hospital, our largest employer, the large shopping center that's just south of this, people cutting through all the time. If you could mitigate some of the traffic concerns from that intersection coming all the way through Cary, that'll help us in the long run too. So you look at this entire run, they're well aware of this, but from my perspective, for representing Cary as well as the region, this has been identified as a priority intersection. So we'll see.
Next, the Rawson Bridge Bikeway improvements. This is a joint Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, or ITEP, grant was submitted with the Village of Cary, the Village of Port Barrington, Algonquin Township, and Nunda Township. That was submitted last fall. We would anticipate hearing the status of the grant application in the next few months. If we're successful in getting the grant, we would expect this to be a multi-year phased project. Phase 1 design, these numbers that you see on the screen are just the Village of Cary's portion. So Phase 1 for the Village of Cary would be 42,240. Same with Phase 2, which would take place next fiscal year 26-27, and then in the third year, we would anticipate construction taking place with Phase 3 construction engineering, as well as our portion of construction, which would be we anticipate right now $528,000.
Do you want to, just for the public's list all the participants? This is a great project.
Yeah, the participants are the Village of Cary, Village of Port Barrington, Algonquin Township, Nunda Township, and even beyond that, we're in coordination with Lake County Department of Transportation. They're not part of the grant, but this would lead right into their jurisdiction and their Lake County Forest Preserve as well. Through the grant application and talking with those other entities, we were able to obtain letters of recommendation from other entities that were very excited about this project, including McHenry Conservation District, Lake County Forest Preserve District, Lake County Department of Transportation, as well as resolutions signed by the municipal and township entities that are involved with this project as well.
It's a great example of
It is.
working together and in cooperation with other taxing bodies about how we can improve the lives of people that are impacted by this.
Mm-hmm.
Another future unfunded project that we had presented in previous CIPs is the potential addition of new sidewalk on Industrial Drive between Cary-Algonquin Road and where the existing sidewalk ends here by the Municipal Center detention basin, and then also widening the existing sidewalk along Cary-Algonquin Road to match the trail width that exists from Main Street southward. This project could be eligible for future grants. We had received previous direction at past CIP workshops to focus on the Rawson Bridge Bikeway and keep this one on the radar. So I'm just bringing it up here to remind everybody it's still there, but we are having it wait in the wings for now. Conceptual cost estimate is about $640,000 for that.
Next, the McHenry County Conservation District's Velpro RRR entrances off of Crystal Lake Road. Some pedestrian access. This is a future unfunded project. This would require partnership with the Conservation District as well as the Cary Park District to complete this project with entrances on both sides, the west entrance and the east entrance. Conceptually, the total cost is about $145,000, with 85 of that being allocated to the west entrance and $60,000 allocated for the east entrance.
Another project that we had included in a past ITEP grant application that unfortunately wasn't successful, but it's something we still keep on the radar, is the Jandis Road Bikeway. So this would be the addition of a new off-street bike path or cycle track, depending on the configuration, along Jandis Road between Cary Street and Jandis Cutoff Road. And it would also include proposed improvements to the railroad grade crossing to enable pedestrian and bicycle access across the tracks over into the Jandis Cutoff area and eventually to Route 14. That project has a total conceptual estimate of about a little under $1 million. But again, just putting it in the radar and not something we're recommending including in the current 5-year plan.
Going back to some of the comments Trustee Dudek made earlier, the US 14 West Main Street intersection safety improvements. This is where we talked about the overhead signage and the pavement markings. These are improvements to that whole corridor there. The pavement markings and contrasting pavement color, as well as crosswalk improvements depicted in the orange bubbles 2, 3, and 4, seen there on the screen. Those are scheduled to be included in the state's upcoming resurfacing project, which they're planning to do in this upcoming summer construction season. The additional work to install the overhead lane signage would be expected in, we could put into an out year with an estimated cost of $150,000. I don't know if that was clear enough, but the 3 of these 4 items that we're looking for, they're hopefully anticipated to do this construction season. The intersection alignment concept, which you see at the bottom of the screen, is a whole different overhaul of the intersection, and the work to construct that project would be roughly $12 million.
That particular that was derived from our comprehensive plan in 2014, 2015. It was identified as an option to alleviate the issues that we have at that intersection. So we're still continuing to, keep that on the radar as ways that we can provide safe travel to and from the downtown. So these are opportunities. That would require property acquisition. The whole realignment. It's great in theory, but I think to get all the moving parts together, it would be quite an undertaking.
Another smaller scale project that could be in the radar for Cary-Algonquin Road at Fox Trails Drive North would be the addition of a left turn lane from Cary-Algonquin Road into Fox Trails Drive North. Currently, there is an existing left turn lane at the southern entrance to the subdivision, but for some reason, there's not one on the northern entrance. So this concept would be a left turn bypass lane. So because of the T intersection with no driveway on the other side of Fox Trails Drive, just widening to have a passing lane should there be a car waiting to turn left into the subdivision. This would require, obviously, participation and partnership with McHenry County DOT as they have jurisdiction over that road.
Summarizing the roadway improvement projects, all of these items we previously gone over, minus those highlighted in pink shade there, which include the Cary-Algonquin Road, Silver Lake, and James Way Roundabout, which is approximately $1.5 million of on-program funds. First Street extension north from 3 Oaks Road to Crystal Lake Road, and the Hilltop subdivision sidewalks, which we just discussed. Additional roadway improvement projects shown on the screen here. There are, again, between Three Oaks Road and US 14 and West Main Street and intersection realignment. That's $18 million of on-program funds.
All right, moving to Cary Lake at Rotary Park. This is just a snapshot of the recent master plan that was done after the dedication of the property from the mining company to the village. This was just meant to show some of the potential ideas that could happen if there were some public-private partnerships or additional funding out there, just to keep things on the radar for future opportunities.
The paved trails at Rotary Park, as mentioned earlier, one of the items that was in the survey that we received a lot of feedback on. It was a high priority in the community's survey. The project includes paving the trail from the new well house, which is located in the northwest corner of the property, around the west portion of the path. Estimated cost for design is $15,000, and to construct a paved trail would be around $300,000.
These are unfunded just project ideas that were part of a recent OSLAD grant application, which I believe is the Open Space Land Acquisition Development Program. While we weren't successful in that grant, did give some good ideas of some programmed activities that could be at the park. Some of them actually made their way into the preferred list from the recent survey, that being the sensory play garden that was proposed with that project. And as you can see, and you're aware, the pavilion that was in that grant application, we, with the help of the generous donation, were able to implement that outside of the grant.
An additional future unfunded project is the purchase of a UTV and a storage shed for out at Rotary Park. The UTV would be cross-utilized for maintenance and for police patrols if needed. And then obviously having secured storage on the property would be better.
Summarizing the Cary Lake projects, items listed above, including the kayak storage structure at $10,000 for fiscal year 25-26. This is a storage shed that we would be installing, Public Works constructing and installing in conjunction with Midwest Kayaks, in coordination, I should say, where we would install a structure and a pad, and they would purchase rental lockers for kayaks for the public to utilize.
The other just item of note, obviously Public Works is working to coordinate the maintenance of the native landscaping in the park, which includes combinations of controlled burns and invasive species mitigation. So that's a bigger ticket item, but an important one.
And future unfunded projects, several of these Administrator Morimoto just mentioned, including the sensory garden, bicycle playground, and challenge course.
On Rotary Park, there's no space here for a beach down the road farther and farther and farther out, right? Because it's too expensive? Is that what was said?
Correct. It was cost prohibitive, and during the master plan process for the park, which this map was the result of that, there were discussions prior to the transfer of the property to the village about whether or not the grading could happen to make a beach possible. But the underwater grades that are required by the Department of Health to make it a legal, safe beach were very cost prohibitive at that point.
Thank you.
Big drop-off.
And now we'll move to water and sanitation.
Water System Resiliency Project. This is our new water treatment facility and well house in the northwest corner of the Rotary Park property. Project also includes an extension of the water main along Cary-Algonquin Road. And the purpose of that water main extension is to provide redundancy within our system and increase, in case of an emergency purposes, we would still be able to provide water to that southern area of town. We would expect to spend around $340,000 in engineering in this upcoming fiscal year, and $2 million to drill the well, which we would anticipate the drilling of the well in this fiscal year, as well as approximately $4.1 million in construction of the well house. And we'd also anticipate the construction of that water main extension along Cary-Algonquin Road at $875,000. Is a reminder to the board and the public that there is grant funding for this project, as well as 100% loan forgivable loan up to $7.295 million, and a low-interest loan for the remaining funds beyond that.
Didn't we get a grant for this too? Well, it's
Pending.
pending. But how much was that? It was like 7 million?
We requested $5 million, but we do not know if
5
that
million,
on.
okay.
The Bright Oaks water main replacement, this is a more recent project that recently went before the board for approval. As you may remember, we have a lot of several water main breaks within the subdivision. There's a lot of old 2-inch mains that serve the units within this subdivision. Over the past few years, we've had instances of breaks that on those 2 inches that have resulted in either staff resources or having to hire out the replacement due to the depth or factors outside of our control. This is a phase project, so we would anticipate the 1.1 million with an additional 45 to finish off designing that second phase of the remainder of the subdivision that needs water main replaced.
Slated for this year is the rehabilitation and painting of Tower 1, located on High Road. This includes welding repairs, replacing of hatches, manways, replacing the overflow, installation of a mixer, and what everyone cares about, a new paint job.
And hopefully the rendering is okay with the board, that mimics the scheme we have at Tower 4.
Do you remember all the conversation about the water tower over here? Oh, my gosh. Patience, people, patience.
There's no hawk nest up there, is there?
Not anymore. We were patient. The nest moved. We're getting ready to start. I don't know if you guys heard that there was a hawk nest up there right when we were starting the reconstruction of it. So that was delayed until the mating season was over. We got hammered for that too. We do it wrong all the time. But anyway.
With the lead service line replacement notification act, we were required in 23 to take an inventory of our water service lines. By 24, we had to submit that inventory and submit a replacement plan. By 2027, we are required to replace at least 7% of the lead lines. However, as you can see, we have already replaced close to 50% of the lines, with the remainder projected to be replaced by 2027, well ahead of the 42 deadline.
And we appreciated the direction from the last CIP. The board gave us direction that they wanted us to accelerate that and take care of these as fast as we could. And I'm very pleased with the progress Public Works has made, and anticipate we will be one of the first lead-free communities around at this rate. Sorry.
Future CIP project, and as recommended in the rate study, is replacement of the filter vessel at well 4. You can see 50,000 for design, 1.2 million for replacement. Page 2. Some ongoing capital replacement programs. There's still the residential water meter replacement, water main replacement program that includes Bright Oaks, lift station rehabilitation program. Slated this coming year is Fox Trails 1 for replacement and design for replacement of Fox Trails 2, for a total for all 3 programs slightly over $8 million over the 5 years. Some other programs, replacement of the Pines Booster Pumping Station, capping wells 8 and 9, which are being abandoned, well rehabilitation, equipment replacement, replacement of our dump truck that we use for main breaks. On the sanitation side, over $4 million over the 5 years for wastewater treatment plant upgrades, sanitary sewer replacement program. It's almost 800,000 there over 5 years.
Summarize the water and sewer CIP program here. Standard vehicles and equipment. Again, these are mapped out in our rate study, and staff's been working on implementing what was mapped out in the rate study and implementing them in their respective scheduled years. Happy to dive into any of these if the board would like.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
The lift station at Jan is cut off in Route 14. What's the cost involved in abandoning that?
Are you referring to the one next to CVS?
I think the rate study, speaking with the previous deputy, he was hoping to do a lot of that in-house, but it wasn't, I don't want to say a number because I'll be wrong, but I don't think it was.
I just didn't know if we can, was that figured in here? Because, the development opportunities over there are.
It is in the rate study for us to abandon that.
I thought it was, yeah. Thank you.
Sanitation fund summary, again, part of the rate study, including lift station replacement, sewer replacement program, as well as facilities and equipment scheduled maintenance.
Moving to the commuter parking fund, this just shows the previous years of parking space utilization. The brown is the daily fee spaces used. The blue are the permits that were issued for permit parking, and then the green is the annual revenue derived from our parking fund. And you can see quite clearly that since the COVID-19 pandemic, the revenue and the utilization has dropped considerably. But the last 2 years, we seem to be leveling off and stabilizing at about 63% of our pre-pandemic ridership.
That north lot was almost completely full today.
So we're crossing our fingers that it will bounce back even more. One of the TIF fund projects, not necessarily a parking fund though, that affects the parking lot is the expansion of the parking lots. That's tied to the access road project for the Maplewood Access Road. That would only be necessary with the reconfiguration of the parking lots. Metro does require that their parking spaces, if they're affected by a road improvement, they have to be made whole. So if you lose a few spaces due to a road project or a different improvement, you have to put back that same number of spaces typically. So this would account for in the TIF expanding the lot to the southeast should there be any need from the impacts of the road project. And then the bottom table is just a summary of the capital maintenance with regards to the commuter station and parking lots, mainly some fencing improvements, some landscaping, sign replacements, and some camera upgrades. Stormwater management.
Future unfunded flood mitigation projects include, or stormwater management projects include flood mitigation on Park Avenue, which as well as storm sewer construction on both Veterans Parkway and School Street. These are projects that came out of the 2017 flood study and total of $13 million. As I was mentioning, that $13 million, Cary Creek drainage improvements, there's $200,000 in an out year. Those are TIF eligible expenses. The $13 million comes from the non-programmed and highlighted in the pink on both this page and the next page.
Okay, fleet and facilities is next.
Fleet and facilities, highlighting some of the things that we have been doing and are working on in future years. This year was exceptional in that we were able to acquire our first electric vehicle. You can see in the highlighted, or in the top picture there, that's vehicle is utilized in our water department. We also have a new conceptual graphic for the police vehicles that were recently acquired.
Okay.
I'll let you
start. But just to recap here, that all of our patrol units are now part of the leasing program, and we've currently taken delivery of 3 Dodge Durangos that we're implementing now. They're a little bit less expensive than the Ford Interceptor or Explorer, and then we also have pickup trucks. When the leasing program was implemented, they felt that the value of those trucks would not diminish as quickly as the SUVs. So we have those vehicles as part of our leasing program. And just kind of a barometer here in regards to what vehicle costs for procurement. I just received the state contract for the Ford Interceptors from Sutton Ford on the 7th of February. And the cost without outfitting the unit would be $48,000.
Then, aside from the police department, the administration and community development department, currently it's 1 midsize SUV, and we would be looking to add 2 compact pickup trucks for community development. Their vehicles are outdated, and the mechanics noted several issues that they've had. We would look at the compact pickup trucks due to cost-saving measures.
Is this lease program still working how we had thought it would and well?
Yes, especially with regards to the police vehicles and the administrative vehicles that are the full-size pickup trucks. The leasing program is not a typical lease like a customer like myself would go to a car dealer and lease a car. These leases do provide some equity back based on the residuals of the vehicles. So depending on the market, we've actually had some years to where the residual and turning in the vehicle covered most of the payment for the next vehicle coming in. So it does fluctuate, but that has been working as advertised. And then having the police patrol vehicles in the program, they get cycled out every 4 years, I believe.
Yeah, 3 to 4 years.
Which then leads to far less maintenance. Prior to this program, we would purchase the vehicles and then we would drive them a considerable amount of miles. And then given the heavy use and the hours that they log, the maintenance that was involved toward the later years of the life of these vehicles was considerable.
With that, in Public Works, we'd be in future years looking at the same compact pickup trucks, in addition to our existing full-size and medium-duty trucks. We also have a heavy-duty truck on order that we've moved to fiscal year 25-26 because we do not anticipate that we will take delivery of that vehicle before May 1st. Additionally, equipment summary, 2 items in the next fiscal year we will be looking at replacement is the chipper for brush pickup and staff doing tree work, as well as a walk-behind saw. Other items to note is in out years we would be looking to replace the front-end loader and medium-duty tractor, as well as the boom truck. Boom truck, the bucket truck. It's
the arm that goes up.
Outside of water and sanitation facilities summary, we have anticipate a facilities condition assessment in fiscal year 27-28. Annual funds for the municipal center, non-program municipal center EV charging station, $60,000, as well as Public Works facility capital maintenance. As far as Metro Depot, those funds are allocated within the parking fund of the Metro.
And then with the McHenry County Regional Police and Firearms Training Centers, the village has a ongoing operational cost that's shared between the 5 agencies that have are part of the training center. So it's based on the allocation of proportional allocation of sworn personnel. Our allocation tends to be somewhere in the area of $24,000. This year it was $27,000, but that was because it was prorated related to the firearms training center operating for a partial year. And additionally, the training center is researching a use of force simulator. That cost would be shared, as well as some capital expenses that we're planning for long term. The second part of this is the Southeast Emergency Communications Regional 911 PSAP or Dispatch Center. The $321,850 is an increase over last year. It's anticipated that we're going to see a 2.5% increase. This is based on our calls for service, but I just want to remind everyone that this has been a very good example of collaboration and efficiency as it relates to, and interoperability for that matter, of emergency communications, number one. And we've been a member of this, as Crystal Lake and Algonquin have, since 2003. So this is a long-term exercise that has proven to be very efficient and effective.
And as the chief mentioned, it's a great partnership, and the village has been a founding member of CCOM since the beginning, and we actually hold a seat on the executive board that helps guide and direct its future as well.
We also sell our services to other municipalities as well as fire protection districts that utilize our 911 center.
And I just add one more thing. To staff a dispatch center, we'd have to hire 5 people, and we're only paying tops, 3 with personnel costs as well. So it's a very good use of our funds, number one, but it's a good collaboration.
And if you've seen the recent open house that CCOM held for the renovations, they expanded the number of seats they've had to be able to have better interoperability and better coverage during shift changes, and opportunities for expansion should we get more partnerships from other communities, or in a really significant emergency, we'd even be able to host calls from another center if need be. So it has been a great partnership.
Yeah, CCOM is the backup to both NERCOM and the sheriff's office. So if one of those centers went down, that they could house their telecommunicators at CCOM.
All right, the home stretch, I swear. CIP summary across all funds. So this is a similar table, sometimes scary table, thank you, Trustee McAlpine, that you see every year with the CIP. And as I noted at the very beginning, these plans are meant to show pretty much every option that's out there for the public and the board to consider. So when you see these very large numbers, we're not meant or expected to be able to handle all $65 million of improvements you see here in this 5-year plan that we presented today, on top of the $43 million nearly of not program projects that we listed just as options. It's meant entirely to show you what's out there, identify opportunities, and then help the board and staff and the village as a whole guide us towards what our priorities are to formulate a budgeted, a plan that will meet our budget for the next fiscal year and beyond. So here you'll see in the first row are the capital projects funds. So throughout the presentation, you've seen that we've labeled a lot of these projects in different funds or categories. So that is a separate fund that we currently have within our budget. Currently, the only funding source for that fund is our shares of the municipal cannabis revenue. Otherwise, it's been funded through transfers or one-time infusions of cash, whether it be through building fund contributions from development or the past, actually that's it, I'm sorry. TIF 3 is the Central Carry TIF that was recently enacted, and these are just the projects that we listed here tonight. Director Simmons has outlined in past presentations an overall TIF budget that shows other projects, not necessarily capital related, but that also benefit the overall development and improvement of that district. So just keep in mind that these aren't all the expenses. Vehicle and Equipment Fund, this was originally funded, and the funds that we have in our balance were sourced by the impact fees from the gravel mining over at the Meyer Materials site west of the Fox Trails development. So currently, there is not a funding source for that, aside from the current balance we have, and then the residuals from the leasing program that we mentioned that have oftentimes been actually putting back and supporting the leases that we have going out. Motor fuel tax, we've talked about already, and obviously, as we mentioned, and you saw in those slides, the anticipated 5-year revenue is definitely far shorter than the 5-year demand just to do the projects as proposed, let alone bring our roadway network to meet our goals to get that pavement condition index higher. Water and sanitation funds it's an enterprise fund, so that is fully funded by the water and sewer utility bills that all the customers pay. So that those projects are funded and funded appropriately according to the rate plan and the capital plan that's associated with that study. Commuter parking, we mentioned there is about $90,000 per year revenue currently coming in from the reduced ridership that we have, but hopefully, like the mayor mentioned, it hopefully will come back over time. But with the recent construction of the new station and the recent resurfacing of all the parking lots that we completed over the last couple of years, there aren't a lot of big-ticket maintenance items in the horizon. So that, while concerning we don't have full revenue we used to, we're holding steady, I would say, for the time being in the near term. And then the Land Conservancy Fund, that was does not have a revenue source, but that was funded entirely by the impact fees from the gravel mining. And those are used to maintain Cary Lake at Rotary Park and any improvements that we choose to implement there. So as I mentioned, summary, I kind of went through. Those are the 3 funds that we think we've discussed pretty thoroughly tonight that are important to funding a lot of these proposed improvements, but we don't have sustainable funding sources for at this time. Which leads to the next slide. So that 5-year summary you saw was about $65 million of projects if the village were to try and implement all of them. And as I mentioned, those were, it's a wish list, so we don't expect to implement them all. But if we tried to, that would be the total amount. And the projected 5-year funding from our current sources is about $38 million, which leads to, obviously, the next step in the process, prioritizing and getting guidance and direction on which projects we want to move forward with at our next budget meeting. That being said, there are a couple potential revenue sources for non-home rule communities like Cary. The first of which is the ability that the state legislature has given to non-home rule communities is to implement their own non-home rule general sales tax of up to 1%. The other option that we have available to us would be to be able to maintain what we currently receive as a 1% grocery tax. That, as you may be aware from past discussions, the state of Illinois will be ending the grocery tax beginning January 1st of 2026. Now, the current grocery tax did not fund the state. It was a pass-through of the 1% sales to each community. So once that ends, we would be looking at, and this is a harder number to calculate based on the way the state does the reporting, but we're estimating it could be about a $400,000 loss in revenue if we were to lose that grocery tax. So one item for future discussion for the village board would be to consider if the village wants to pursue our own local grocery tax to replace the one that would be ending on the 1st of January 2026. And also for separate discussion, based on previous committee meetings we've had, there is also the possibility to implement our own home rule sales tax, and that would vary, but could possibly generate approximately an additional $700,000 annually for the village, which could be applied to things like capital improvements that we saw today. So with that, open to hearing any comments from the board in terms of other priorities that we haven't already discussed that you would like us to make sure are in our proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget. And if not, we're also open to hearing your feedback between now and our next budget workshop on March 15th.
Before we comment, is there anybody else here who would like to talk about any of these funds, any of these projects, anything else that's going on? Now is your opportunity.
Chris Reiki, 446 Lloyd Street. Now, is there any way that we can go through, the public can go through and look at these slides? Or
It'll be on the
we gotta go through
website.
the meeting on the video and look at them?
You look at, because everything that we see here, you'll see on the video, but we can have it put on the website.
Yes, we every year we do put the CIP slides on our website, and we will share that as well.
Okay, basically, I'm interested in the streets, the street thing. And as far as, with the stickers that you buy to register, whether it be dump trucks, cars, trucks, trailers, does any of that come back to the cities?
We don't charge vehicle stickers.
So that all goes to the state? Yeah.
Oh,
that
the
all-
license plate stickers? Yeah, that goes straight to the state.
Okay. I think that was it. And as far as the train bridge in Barrington, they do, you can go on a website and it will show you a video
Of what it's gonna look like, yeah,
when it's all done.
it's quite impressive, isn't it?
It's a heck of a project, though.
It is. It's been a long time coming, but it'll really help our region because that's a main thoroughfare that people use to get up here. I consider Cary the entryway to McHenry County, so it's everything we can do to keep us
They gotta
going.
build 2 bridges for that, so it's quite a project.
I can't remember what it was, but we've always been supportive of that project. Anybody else have any comments?
I just have a couple. With the proposed developments that we're bringing to town and the ones that are currently in process, what is the expected total number of residents in Cary? Have we done projections? How close are we to home rule?
Oh, we will never get to home rule.
Never?
Never.
Okay.
Well, hold on, I shouldn't say that. I'm gonna be completely transparent. To be home rule, you have to have 25,000 residents.
Okay.
Period. Anything over, if you're a home rule community and the next census brings you down to 24,800, you lose home rule status.
So have we, with the calculation, where are we currently and where will we be if everything happens?
We're under 18 right now. O'Brien's got some figures.
With contemplated projects that are in town, you might be less than 20 still.
Okay. I have many questions and comments, but why do we own a park as a village, and why doesn't the park district run a park?
You're talking about Cary Lake?
I'm talking about Cary Lake, Rotary Park,
Rotary
whatever we're
Park.
calling it right now. I've heard several different versions. It seems like a park district should be running a park and using all the resources that they have to maintain it. What is the advantage of owning a park as a village?
It's a continued amenity for the community. We offered it to the Park District when this was all going down with Meyer Material. They did not have any interest in it. They're land rich. They weren't looking for any additional property. We also offered it to McHenry County Conservation District. They also are land rich. They weren't looking for anything. So we decided, once it's up and running, it's really not going to be that expensive to run. It's really on how we choose what amenities we want to put out there. Once it's paved, we can, inch that, get that checked off the box. Any other things, we've got private partnerships going right now with the kayak rentals, looking for other opportunities out there too that could reduce the cost. If you look at in Crystal Lake, they have the same situation. They have the Three Oaks Park. I would never in a million years subscribe to what they're going on over there. They lose money there every year, and it's an overhead nightmare. So what we have right now is affordable for us, and it gives people, an opportunity for open space. We hear this all the time. We're able to host new events there. We see over and over and over again that people want more events in town. So that's going to be a prime opportunity for expansion. Again, for if we're going to do a entertainment commission, events and entertainment, whatever we're going to call it, that gives them more things to program events for. Bringing more people into town is what we want.
Okay. Since I'm up here, I might as well bring up my other questions. Alfresco Alley, the shade structure, sounds great. Sounds better than a tent paid for by a restaurant that also then excluded people from the outside going into that restaurant, even though it was not set up that way. So it sounds great. And EV charging, I'm just curious if we've gone down all the rabbit holes for all the rebates, because right now there's a ton of rebates for installing chargers.
Yeah, that
we don't know will be there in 4 or 5 years.
Everything's on pause right now. There's really nothing available right now.
With the state of Illinois?
Well, that's because that's federally funded.
Okay. That's all I got.
Really? Okay.
Well,
I got off easy. Thank you very much for your attention. Is there anybody else who would like to add a comment? I just want to thank, did staff or trustees have any comments?
I would just say thank you to the staff, to everyone. What a great job. It's a lot of work, a big lift, but you did a great job with it. And certainly I wish that I feel like I've got champagne taste on a generic beer budget, It's just, I wish we had all the money to do everything. That wasn't an issue, but, we're tasked with then identifying and moving forward. But you guys did a great job with everything. So thank you for all your hard work with this.
Thank you. Chris, did you have one more? I'll give you one more opportunity.
Okay. With the grinding the sidewalks, that does work, because a lot of the sidewalks, instead of replacing them, just grinding the top off, that does work. And some of the streets, if you just make they did it on Lloyd Street, where you just make a 3-foot grind along the curb line and repave that. That's perfect for the street, and that works on some of the streets, or just different patches. So, and that does work versus repaving the whole street. So, and that's it.
Thank you, Chris. All right, any other comments from the trustees? Thank you very much, staff. Outstanding job. It's nice having Kaylin up here, the big boys.
I did have one quick comment. We don't often get a lot of interaction from the public. Last couple meetings, we've had some good interaction from the public. I would encourage the gentleman over there who has other things that he'd want to mention to please share those with Eric, with Brian, with the mayor, with the board, because the best way for us to figure out how to spend your money is to hear from you. And if we don't, then we make decisions in a vacuum. So I'd encourage you to please provide us your thoughts.
Right, I'll echo that. That's one of my closing things. It's important that we have the community's feedback. Time and time again, we ask for people. We send out surveys. We get minimal participation. We need to know. We want to know. It's these are, as you can see, these are big, somewhat heated discussions. There are we're looking at ways so we can work together collaboratively to get these things done. Like I keep saying, I keep hearing it more and more. We're not the enemy. We're your neighbors. We live and breathe the same area you guys. We drive on the same road. We're just trying to make our community better by working together. And there's no reason for the outbursts, the derogatory comments. We're better than that. We are much better than that. And, I consider ourselves extremely lucky right now. The village of Cary is on the map. People are paying attention to what we're doing. The developer that's considering Maplewood, that's a $100 million investment in our community. The one that's out on Route 31, that's another over $100 million investment in our community that's going to help us with our tax base. It's more people using our restaurants, our services, shopping at our stores, and then paying into what we do. So getting your feedback for what our, you know, we do this once a year. This is always a very stressful time for all of us because it's, you know, we ask our staff to let's look at the big picture. What do we need? How are we going to get there? You know, obviously we're not going to chew off $65 million in the next 5 years. It's just not right. But let's look at the projects that we've identified and chip away at those, continuously making the Village of Cary a great place to live and work and play that you're all proud of. We're making ends meet here, and we will continue to do this. We will never pass an unbalanced budget. We will just stick to the monies that we have, and staff knows that. That's a mandate from our board to our staff. So this is why it's really important that we get the community to come forth and say, look, I'd like to see this, or, you know, have you thought about that? Great things come from collaboration. We've learned that by working regionally, and it's a really good opportunity for you to stay involved in our community. So thank you for coming in. We appreciate having you here with us. I apologize on behalf of the outburst that was there. We typically don't have that type of situation, and you know, it kind of caught me off guard, and I apologize if I didn't nip in the bud, Chief. Thank you for handling it for him. It's the first time in 12 years I've had to have somebody escorted out of the building, but it happens, and I don't want to subject our residents to behavior like that. You know, we all work together. We've got a great board that likes, we don't all agree on everything all the time, but our bottom line is to move this village forward. So anything else? Okay. Without any other discussion, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned at 8:41. Thank you again.
All in favor? Aye.
No, I want to stay.